My addiction has finally returned, and I couldn't be happier. You know, for the longest time, I had been feeling incomplete as a photographer, and I wanted to use today's video to explain why that is, what I did to overcome that feeling of incompleteness. But in order for me to do that, I have to take you all the way back to 2000 when I started my photography business. So imagine, if you will, it's the early 2000s. You have a growing portrait photography business. Your family's also growing. Your clients love the work you produce for them. You're producing your own prints in-house, including canvas prints. Things are going really great. Until 2008 hits, and you wake up one day realizing you have crushing debt, no savings, and not enough money coming in to pay for it all. Now imagine yourself 12 years later. You've been able to pull yourself out of that financial mire. You've rebuilt and rebranded your business. You're more profitable than ever. You're debt-free except for the house. Things are going great. Yet, there's still this emptiness inside. You still feel incomplete as a creative, as a photographer. With all the good things going on, how is that possible? You see, printing has always been a huge part of the photography process. And it has always been a big part of my photography business. As I mentioned, in the early 2000s, I was producing my own prints in-house. And the reason I chose to do that was I feel stress or tension if there's anything that takes away a part of my process. And when I went fully digital in 2000, I wanted to make sure I kept that tangibility. But when that crash of 2008 hit, I felt like the biggest loser on the planet. I felt like a loser as a husband, as a father, as a business owner. And no matter what I tried to do, I couldn't seem to keep up with the bills. I think many who experienced it would agree, you felt alone. You felt like you were the only one. And so I did whatever I had to do. I mean, I was the sole income earner. We had 7 kids at the time. And so I went out and I got 3 jobs in addition to running my business. And then I also liquidated all of my camera equipment except for 1 camera and 1 lens, and all of my printing equipment, everything. And while that helped us to pay down some bills, it still wasn't enough to keep us from losing our home, unfortunately. And so I was just in a really dark place then, and was working nonstop. I didn't see my family, and so I felt alone, and would spend whatever time I could eke out, whether it was between breaks or between different job shifts or late at night when the whole family was asleep, seeking validation online. I would be posting images to various online platforms and photography forums, seeking that validation because I felt like, other than my family, which, you know, is the bedrock of my life, right? I felt like I was losing everything. I was losing my home. My business was slowly slipping away from me. I felt like I was losing photography. And I just kept doing it more and more and more. And the more I did it, the more empty I felt, the more incomplete I felt as a photographer. This feeling, this emptiness, though, would gnaw at me for those 12 years. Until I rolled my truck in the fall of 2020. That violent rollover really gives you time to think, because I had to take a month off of work. I had to cancel all of my shoots and reschedule things. And I sat basically alone in my darkened bedroom because I had such a bad concussion that light was really painful. I had nothing but time to think and to pray. And while being grateful for my family and my friends and my business and my clients and colleagues and everything, I was wondering why I still felt this emptiness. Why did I still feel so incomplete as a creative, as an artist? And then it hit me. There's a piece of my process that's been missing for over 12 years, and that piece is printing. And so, after healing, talking it over with my wife, I realized I need to print. I need to be in control of my process. So I did my research. I was looking at the Canon 1000 that everybody's using these days. But being an Epson guy from the past, I ended up investing in the Epson P900, which will allow me to do 17 by 22 inch prints. And I will actually have a review on this printer in a later video, and I will also be showing you guys how to produce your own prints as well. I feel this close emotional attachment to the work I create, especially when it's printed. And I had realized that spending all those years chasing likes and follows and, you know, all those likes and things and all the images you post on there ultimately will just get flushed down the memory hole. There's no tangibility, there's no longevity to those images. And, you know, it just made me feel more empty. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not dismissing the value that social media can and does have. I just feel that as creatives, our priorities are a little bit misplaced, as if everyone's just trying to be internet famous. I feel like we've lost completion in our art process, right? Like, photography is meant to be printed. Photographs are made to be printed. And by not printing, we're losing that part. And so that's where that tension, that incompleteness comes in for me. So even though I have no clients who need prints anymore, I'm not producing prints for artists, nor am I involved in the art fairs, and there isn't anybody clamoring to buy a John Magnosky print, although that would be pretty sweet, I still needed to invest in a printer. And, you know, it's kind of funny. The night I brought it home and I got everything set up and I made my first print, I was telling my wife at dinner, I feel like a real photographer again. She kind of gave me a little eye roll, but it seems silly, but I felt like a part of me was finally back. And I spent the next few weeks printing tons of images for nobody else but me. So then why should you make your own prints? It's pretty simple. You see, a print is tangible, but that tangibility tickles almost all of our senses. The way the paper feels, the weight of it, the texture of it, even the smell, even the sound of it when you're rubbing your fingers across it. There's just something special about the tangibility of holding a photograph. But more importantly is the fact that when you print an image, it often reveals the mistakes that you've made in the editing process. Because the screens that we're using these days, they're high dynamic range, they're high definition. You may have crunched things a little bit too far that don't show up on the screen, but they'll definitely show up in a print. Oftentimes, I will have missed dust spots or different little branches or things, different elements that I would normally retouch out. I often miss it until I see it in a print. Another reason I love to print is it helps me to feel a more personal connection with my work and actually forces me to slow down. You know, if I'm out in the field and I'm producing work for myself, I will take my time. I will really slow down and craft a much better image. And so by focusing on just printing and not caring about all the likes and the follows, you develop this more personal connection with your work and helps us to craft better quality images. And it's not only the better quality images. What's really interesting is the fact that, you know, a printed image is an ever-present reminder that what you printed is special. And this causes you to more deeply consider the reasons why you go out to create a photograph in the first place, which in turn leads to much greater personal, creative, and spiritual growth. And it's this spiritual growth where I'm really at right now in my life, because in an odd way, when I print a photograph, I feel a deeper connection with God. Now, hear me out, you know, because God takes time on each one of us, processing us, if you will, perfecting us over our lives. And then when that final moment comes, he prints us, right? When we've reached that state of perfection. That's what we do as photographers. We go out and we capture something raw and we perfect and we mold and we shape and we want to really share with the world something beautiful. And when it gets to that state that we're happy with and we hit print, we're saying this is finished. And when people visit and see your photograph, either on your wall or on your friend's wall or on a client's wall, they know that that work has meaning. it automatically has value. Contrast all of that with, say, a large screen TV or a large computer monitor playing a slideshow of your images. There's never time to breathe, to take in the meaning of each image. And while I think the technology is cool that we can do that, what we're ultimately saying is that our work is a consumable and that ultimately the work is finite. Whereas, a printed image, just one of those up on the wall, is, for all intents and purposes, infinite. These modern prints with their archival inks and papers, they'll easily outlast me, my children, my grandchildren, and potentially even my great-grandchildren. And the best part of all, this requires absolutely no batteries and no internet connection to enjoy. So call me old-fashioned. I love prints and I love printing. And having begun again to print my own work has filled this void, this emptiness that I had been feeling ever since the crash of 2008. It has validated me as a photographer and it makes me feel complete. I just love it. And if you're not printing your own work, you really should. Not only does it make you a better photographer, but I believe it will make you a happier person too. I know it has for me. It's really filled that void that I had been feeling all those years and brought the joy of the photographic process back into my life. If you feel the same, please like and share this video. It really helps my channel out. Leave me a comment below and check out my other videos. Until next time, God bless.